My name is Jason Miller, and I thought I had the perfect life, a loving wife, a newborn daughter, and a peaceful home filled with hope. But all it took was one baby monitor, one accidental notification, to rip the veil off everything I believed was real. What I saw shattered me, not just as a husband, but as a father. And that was only the beginning. You won't believe how far she went to keep her lies hidden, or how far I had to go to expose the truth. This isn't just a story of betrayal. It's a story of calculated revenge and redemption. Her name is Lisa, 33, beautiful, bright, creative. We met 7 years ago at a local fair. I still remember how she looked under the string lights, cotton candy in one hand, spinning around in flip-flops like she didn't have a care in the world. I asked her out that night, and she never looked back. Or so I thought. Our relationship wasn't perfect. No one's is, but it felt solid. We laughed together, weathered life's minor storms, and built something real. Or at least, I thought we did. We spent the first few years traveling, staying up late with cheap wine and open hearts, and dreaming of our future. Eventually, we decided it was time to grow the family. After some hesitation and planning, Lisa got pregnant. Our daughter was born earlier this year. The moment I held her in my arms, something shifted inside me. I didn't just feel love, I felt purpose. My whole world narrowed to that tiny heartbeat against my chest. I remember thinking, this is what I was made for. Parenthood, though, hit harder than expected. The sleepless nights, the lack of time, the overwhelming responsibility, it wears on you. And when you don't have nearby family or a solid circle of dependable friends, you're stuck. Lisa and I couldn't afford a nanny, so everything rested on us. I tried to be understanding. She was exhausted most days, trying to run her flower shop and be a full-time mom. The shop itself was something I had helped her build. When my uncle passed away from cancer, he left me a small storefront near the corner of our street. I didn't have any plans for it, but Lisa had always loved flowers, so I gave it to her, rent-free, no strings attached. I thought it would be a beautiful way for her to chase her dream while contributing to the household. She hired 2 young women to help out, and the shop became her world. Meanwhile, I worked from home. It made life easier, but also lonelier. Most days I was bouncing between spreadsheets and dirty diapers. And although I never said it out loud, I missed having moments of spontaneity. Those quick coffee runs, impromptu date nights, the freedom we had before the baby. That's what led me to buy the baby monitor. I know how it sounds. Irresponsible, maybe even reckless. But I wasn't planning to leave our daughter alone while we went bar hopping. I just thought, if she's napping, and we're 5 minutes away grabbing food or sitting at the cafe around the corner, we could manage. Lisa was hesitant, but she didn't flat out say no. And, truth be told, I jumped the gun a little. One day, while she was at work, I ordered the monitor online and set it up in the baby's room. It was discreet, small, mounted in the corner near the bookshelf. If the lights were off or blinds drawn, it was practically invisible. It synced to an app on my phone, and I could see everything in real time. I told myself I'd bring it up to her soon, but the next thing I knew, she was home, and I'd forgotten to mention it. The next day was a rare one. I had a free afternoon, a short break from work, and a list of errands I could knock out solo. Lisa asked if I'd take the baby with me, said she was completely drained and needed time alone. It wasn't the first time she asked. Last time, I'd said no, and she seemed disappointed. So this time I agreed. I packed up the stroller, the diaper bag, snacks, bottles, everything we'd need, and hit the road. The day went smoothly. My daughter was calm, even smiled a few times. I stopped for gas, picked up groceries, and was parked outside a fast food place eating fries when it happened. My phone buzzed. Motion detected in the baby's room. At first, I smiled. Maybe Lisa had gone in to grab something. No big deal. But something made me check the feed. Just a quick glance to see what was going on. And that's when the world flipped. I saw Lisa. She wasn't alone. A man stood with her. At first, I thought he was hurting her. Maybe a break-in. Maybe something worse. My heart was in my throat. I gripped the steering wheel, ready to tear down the road. But then I heard the sound. Moaning. Kissing. And I realized they were making out. In our daughter's room. I froze, unable to look away as the man reached under her blouse. She laughed. She moaned. And then, he bent her over the crib. The crib where our baby sleeps. I don't remember breathing. I don't remember blinking. I just remember reaching for the record button on the app, my hand trembling. Rage and disbelief surged through me like fire. I wanted to drive home and rip the front door off its hinges. I wanted to drag him out by the throat. But my daughter was in the back seat, asleep, peaceful. And that's the only reason I didn't lose control. The only reason this story didn't end in violence. Because in that moment, between heartbreak and hatred, I realized something far worse than betrayal. Lisa didn't just cheat. She did it in the most sacred place in our home. And she used our daughter as the cover. That was the moment my love for her died. And something else was born in its place. Something cold. Something calculating. Something that was going to make her regret everything. Part 2. The calm before confrontation. I didn't drive home right away. It would have been easy. Just hit the gas and be there in minutes. But the truth is, I was afraid of myself. My hands were still trembling on the steering wheel, knuckles white, jaw clenched so hard it hurt. I kept glancing in the rearview mirror at my daughter, still sleeping peacefully, completely unaware that her father's world had just been ripped apart. And that's what held me together. Her. The last thing she needed was to be caught in the crossfire of whatever storm was building inside me. If I confronted Lisa in that state, angry, shaking, with our child in my arms, I didn't trust what I might say or do. So I did the only thing I could. I drove. Not home, but aimlessly. I finished one last errand, just to have something to distract me. I needed space to think. I needed time to cool off, even if all I wanted was to scream until my throat bled. By the time I made it back, the sun had already dipped behind the trees. Lisa was waiting at the door, looking unusually chipper. "Hey, you're back late," she said casually, reaching to take the diaper bag from me. "Did everything go okay?" I nodded. My voice caught in my throat, so I forced a faint smile. "Yeah, she was perfect all day." Lisa leaned over and kissed our daughter's forehead. I watched her closely, her expression, her tone, her eyes, searching for even a flicker of guilt. But there was nothing. Just a perfectly rehearsed performance from a woman who had spent the day desecrating our home. I don't know how I didn't explode right then and there. Instead, I mumbled something about traffic, set the bags down, and walked into the kitchen like everything was normal. She made dinner. I barely touched it. She chatted about her day. I nodded in all the right places. I felt like a ghost in my own house, detached, watching everything from a distance. The entire time, that image replayed in my mind like a horror film on loop. Lisa bent over the crib, her face turned away from the camera, moaning like our child's room was a damn hotel room. When she went to bed, I stayed up. I sat in the living room, phone in hand, replaying the footage one more time, this time without sound. I couldn't bear to hear it again. The way she giggled, the way he groaned, the way she leaned back into him like it wasn't the first time. My throat burned, and my chest felt hollow, like someone had scooped out everything soft and left behind only concrete and rage. I stared at that monitor screen until my eyes blurred. How long had this been going on? How many times had I taken the baby out so she could cheat in peace? Would she have done it if our daughter had still been there? That last question shattered me. It wasn't just infidelity, it was depravity. Lisa didn't just betray our marriage. She invaded the innocence of our child's space. That room, the one I painted by hand, the one where I rocked our daughter to sleep, humming lullabies in the dark, was now tainted by her filth. By sunrise, I had made up my mind. I wouldn't act on rage. I'd act on strategy. I wouldn't confront her half-cocked and screaming. I'd build my case. I'd gather evidence. I'd watch her unravel slowly, the way she tried to unravel me. This wouldn't be just a divorce, it would be a reckoning. And she would never see it coming. That morning, as Lisa came into the living room stretching and yawning, I smiled for the first time since it all happened. "Hey," I said calmly. "Slept okay?" She nodded, brushing her hair back. "Yeah, you." I nodded. Did a lot of thinking. She didn't ask what about, but I could already see the faintest flicker of tension behind her eyes. Later that day, she noticed the baby monitor in the corner. "What's that?" she asked casually. "Oh," I said, not missing a beat. "I bought it last week. Just wanted to have an extra set of eyes on her while we were in the other room." She nodded slowly, forcing a smile. "Didn't know you already set it up." I shrugged. "Figured you wouldn't mind." And just like that, the trap was set. She had no idea what I knew. No idea that her days of deception were numbered. I wasn't going to shout or cry or beg. I was going to make her feel what I felt. Not just the pain, but the powerlessness. And I would do it with the same quiet calm she wore while destroying our home. For the next 24 hours, I became two people. To Lisa, I was the same old Jason, quiet, dependable, maybe a little tired, but still the man she thought she had wrapped around her finger. I played the role well. I changed diapers. I made breakfast. I asked her about the flower shop, nodded along as she told me how slow business had been lately. But behind my eyes, there was a storm brewing. I wasn't just hurt anymore. I was calculating. Every smile she gave me felt like a blade in the back. Every time she kissed our daughter goodnight, I had to suppress the urge to ask her how she could possibly have the audacity to pretend, to carry on like she hadn't turned the most sacred space in our home into a brothel, into a crime scene. The baby monitor still sat silently in the corner of our daughter's room. I noticed she avoided it now, whether consciously or not. I couldn't tell, but it didn't matter. The damage had already been done. The footage lived in the cloud, on my phone, on a hard drive I hid in the back of my office drawer. I wasn't going to lose it. I wasn't going to give her a single loophole. That night, I didn't sleep again. I sat on the edge of the couch in total darkness, staring into nothing. There was a weight in my chest that refused to lift. I kept asking myself, how? How did we go from newborn joy to this twisted betrayal? And then the worst thought hit me, what if this wasn't the first time? That idea took root like a weed and wouldn't let go. I remembered all the times she asked me to take the baby out for her, just a few hours. All the sudden requests to run errands alone. The last-minute calls from work that pulled her away. The moments I brushed off as exhaustion, hormonal shifts, postpartum stress, were those all just setups? How many times had I been played for a fool? By morning, I was no longer confused. I was focused. I gave her one last normal day, one last chance to breathe easy in a house she no longer deserved. And the next morning, when the sun filtered through the blinds, I decided it was time. She came into the kitchen, yawning, wrapped in her robe. She poured herself a cup of coffee like nothing was wrong. I cleared my throat. We need to talk. Her hand froze mid-pour. She turned, blinking slowly. About what? I gestured to the table. Sit down. She hesitated, then obeyed. I could see her eyes searching my face, trying to read what I knew. But I kept my expression unreadable. I need to be honest with you, I said. I bought the baby monitor last week, and I set it up while you were at the shop. She furrowed her brow. Okay. It was already active the day you asked me to take our daughter out to run errands. I saw it happen. The recognition. The flash of horror. Her hand flew to her mouth like a reflex. Her breath caught in her throat. We sat there in silence for nearly a minute, her frozen in place, me watching her unravel. Then I asked, coldly, why did you cheat on me? Her lip trembled. She shook her head, eyes already brimming with tears. Jason, Don't, I interrupted. Don't lie. Don't cry. Just tell me the truth. She tried to speak through the sobs, but her words came out broken, jumbled. I let her struggle. Let her drown in the shame of it. She had no excuses. No justifications. Not this time. Who was he? I asked next. More silence. Then finally, in a hoarse whisper, just a customer. From the shop. His name's Evan. Is he married? Her head sank lower. Yes. I laughed. I couldn't help it. So you're a married woman sleeping with another married man. In our daughter's room. Do you even hear yourself? She didn't answer. Just wept into her hands. What the hell is wrong with you? I asked, my voice rising now. Why the crib, Lisa? Why that room? Her response was even worse than I expected. You didn't even ask me before setting up the baby monitor, she sniffled. I froze. Stared at her. Excuse me. You didn't wait for me to say yes, she said, as if that were the issue. That's when I lost it. So if I hadn't set up the monitor, you'd still be screwing Evan in our baby's room right now, is that it? And I'm the problem because I didn't ask your permission to find out you're a disgusting liar. She started sobbing harder. But I was done. I stood up, walked out of the kitchen, and slammed the bedroom door behind me. That night, she slept on the couch. And I started planning her exit. The next morning, I didn't speak to Lisa. I walked past her on the couch where she had slept, still wrapped in the same robe, her eyes swollen and red. She didn't say a word, just sat there like a shadow of the woman she used to be. And honestly, I didn't feel a single ounce of pity. I'd spent the last few days drowning in grief, in silence, in heartbreak. Now I was operating on something colder. Resolve. I had made up my mind. This marriage was over. But I wasn't going to walk away with just a broken heart. No, I was going to make sure she felt even a fraction of the betrayal she forced me to carry. By that afternoon, I made 2 phone calls. The first was to Emily, my best friend's wife and, conveniently, one of the sharpest divorce attorneys in the state. The second was to a locksmith. When Lisa left to go clear her head at her sister's place that evening, I changed the locks. Cold? Maybe. But I wasn't about to let her come crawling back into our home like nothing had happened. She lost the right to this place the second she turned our daughter's room into a motel for married strangers. I sent her a text before she returned. The locks are changed. Don't come back. I'll have a lawyer contact you soon. It was short, clean, and final. She called me immediately, but I let it go to voicemail. Her messages ranged from sobbing apologies to angry rants about how I was destroying everything and taking things too far. That part made me laugh. Too far? She had no idea what too far looked like, yet. The next few days were a blur of legal paperwork, late-night calls with Emily, and rewatching that baby monitor footage to make sure I hadn't exaggerated anything in my memory. I hadn't. It was just as raw, just as vile, and just as unforgivable. Emily was relentless, in the best way possible. She laid it out for me plain and simple. You have the evidence. You have the moral high ground. If we're going to war, Jason, we're going to win. And I needed that. I needed someone in my corner who wasn't afraid to swing back. Lisa tried everything. She showed up at the apartment banging on the door. I didn't answer. She called from new numbers. I blocked them. She left long, emotional emails that started with, "I'm sorry," and ended with, "You'll regret this." But I didn't. Not for a second. You see, the part that really twisted the knife wasn't just the cheating. It was the planning, the premeditation. The fact that she looked me in the eye that morning, handed me our child, and said she needed rest, when what she really needed was an empty house to entertain her affair partner. That kind of deceit? It doesn't come from confusion. It comes from calculation. I wasn't her husband in her eyes anymore. I was an obstacle. And now, she was about to find out how painful it is when an obstacle pushes back. When the divorce papers were ready, I made a special request. I gave Emily Lisa's work address, the flower shop I had given her rent-free. The same one my late uncle left me. The one I handed to her as a gift, thinking I was helping her grow a dream, not run a side business of betrayal. I didn't want the papers served at her sister's place or by email. I wanted her to be handed those papers in public, in front of her employees, in the store I built for her. Let her see what it feels like to be exposed. Later that day, she called me, her voice trembling with humiliation and fury. "Jason, how could you do this? At work? In front of everyone?" I replied with a single sentence. "You should have thought about that before you bent over our daughter's crib." Click. That was it. For the first time since everything began, I felt a weight lift. The power dynamic had shifted. She wasn't the puppet master anymore. I was no longer the heartbroken fool she could manipulate. No. Now I was the man she underestimated. And she had no idea what else I had planned. After Lisa got served at the flower shop, things went from desperate to pathetic, fast. She called me again later that night. This time, there were no tears. No sobbing apologies or half-baked excuses. Just venom. "You humiliated me, Jason. You've ruined my reputation." I stared at the phone before hanging up without a word. "Your reputation?" I wanted to scream. "You ruined our marriage, our family, and our daughter's innocence the moment you let another man touch you in her cribside glow." But I didn't scream. I didn't need to. Because the real revenge was just beginning. Lisa thought she was clever. That she could cry, play victim, twist the narrative. But I wasn't the Jason she once knew. I wasn't the doormat. I was the man who had every receipt, every timestamp, and every legal right to dismantle the world she built on my generosity. And first on the chopping block, the flower shop. The building was still in my name, my inheritance from Uncle Ron. I had gifted her use of the space out of love, never charging rent, never asking questions. I thought I was supporting her dreams. Turns out, I was funding an affair. When my attorney confirmed that she had no legal claim to the property, I made the next move. I drafted a formal notice. She had 30 days to vacate. No negotiation. No chance to buy it out. She was done. But I didn't send it through mail. I delivered it in person. I walked into the shop, calm as ever, while she was helping a customer choose wedding arrangements. The irony nearly made me laugh. I waited until the customer left, then handed her the envelope. "What's this?" she asked, instantly suspicious. "Your final notice," I said. 30 days. Then you're out." She opened it and scanned the letter. Her face paled, lips trembling. "You can't be serious." "I'm dead serious, Lisa." "But this is my business," she whispered, glancing toward the back, where her assistants were pretending not to eavesdrop. "No, I said, voice steady. It's my building. You just cheated in the shadows of it. She started crying again, right there behind the counter, begging me to reconsider. Offered to start paying rent. Offered to sign a lease. I shook my head. You didn't just betray me. You disrespected everything I gave you. There's no coming back from that. When I left, she was still crying, clutching the letter with shaking hands. The shop's door slammed behind me like punctuation. Final. Sharp. Over the next few weeks, her panic grew. She posted on Instagram that the shop was temporarily closed for renovation. Claimed she was taking time to rebrand. Lies, all of it. I watched her try to save face while her foundation crumbled beneath her feet. She called 3 times in that month. Once I answered. Please, she said. I know I messed up, but don't take the shop. It's all I have left. You should have thought about that before you gave yourself to a stranger, I replied coldly. You used me. You used everything I gave you. And now you're going to feel what that really costs. Click. Every time I drove past the shop, I saw the lights off. The windows empty. The sign in the front slowly fading from sun exposure. And I smiled. Not because I was cruel, but because justice, real justice, isn't always delivered in a courtroom. Sometimes, it comes in silence, in watching someone drown in the consequences they thought they'd never face. The legal process was going smoothly. Lisa's lawyer tried to argue for partial ownership of the shop. Emily, my attorney, shut it down in minutes. It was a gift, not a transfer. He holds the deed. She holds the regret. Custody negotiations were harder. Lisa wanted 50-50. I didn't fight it, not because she deserved it, but because my daughter deserved stability. I wasn't going to use her as a pawn, even if her mother had used her room like a hotel suite. The court awarded joint custody. No alimony. No spousal support. And the apartment? Mine. I gave Lisa the car instead. Let her drive away in the last piece of our shared life. But the best part? I wasn't done. There was still one more domino left to fall. Because I had a name. A face. The man she cheated with? Evan. And I was about to introduce myself to his wife. Finding Evan was easier than I expected. A few clicks on Facebook, a search through Lisa's old tagged photos, and there he was, Evan Carpenter. Smiling like a man without a care in the world, arm around a woman I assumed was his wife. I clicked her profile. Public. Married. 2 kids. Perfect little suburban life. I stared at that screen for a long time, wondering if I should even go through with it. But then I remembered the sound of Lisa moaning in my daughter's room. I remembered the sight of her blouse undone, her hands gripping the crib I built with my own 2 hands. And I remembered how casually she tried to blame me for buying the monitor that exposed her. Yeah, I was doing this. I drafted a message to Evan's wife. I kept it simple, respectful, honest. Hi, you don't know me, but I think you deserve the truth. I have evidence that your husband has been cheating with my wife. I wouldn't reach out if I weren't absolutely certain. I have video proof. If you're willing to see it, I'll send it. She didn't respond right away. I figured she wouldn't. Who could blame her? A random man reaching out to tell her life was a lie. That's a hard pill to swallow. But 12 hours later, I got a reply. Prove it. I sent the clip, just enough to confirm what happened. No sound, no explicit details. Just enough to show her husband and my wife together. Her response came within minutes. Oh my God, it's true. And then a second message. I need time. Thank you for telling me. I never heard from her again, but I didn't need to. That was the beauty of it. I didn't have to lift a finger. The truth did the damage for me. Lisa's affair partner was now exposed. Whatever fantasy she had with him was now crumbling. Just like her shop, just like her lies. But I wasn't finished. I waited until a month after the divorce was finalized before making my last move. I walked back into the flower shop, the same shop now empty, lights off, shelves bare. Lisa had tried to act like she was renovating, even kept the Instagram page updated with old recycled photos. But I knew the truth. And so did she. She was sitting behind the counter, pretending to work on something. When she looked up and saw me, her expression dropped. What are you doing here? She asked, guarded. I came to let you know you've got 7 days left, I said. Then the new tenant moves in. Her eyes widened. New tenant. I nodded. Yeah, someone who'll actually pay for the space. Unlike you. I told you. I can start paying rent, she said, desperation creeping into her voice. Please, Jason, don't do this. No, I said calmly. I gave you everything, Lisa, and you used it to betray me. I'm not going to let you keep a single thing that came from my trust. Not the marriage. Not the home. Not this store. She stood up, furious now. You're doing this to hurt me. I leaned in slightly. No. I'm doing this because actions have consequences. You made your choice. Now live with it. I turned and walked out. Her voice followed me, shaky, broken, but I didn't stop. That door closed behind me like the last page of a book. The next week, I drove past the shop. The sign was gone. The windows papered. A new florist had moved in. Clean slate. Clean start. I didn't stop. I just watched it disappear in the rearview mirror. Lisa called a few more times that month. Left voicemails. Told me she missed me. That she was sorry. That she was trying to get better. I never answered. I wasn't interested in her redemption arc. She had made her bed, and now she could lie in it. The best part? She had to watch it all fall apart without me saying a word. The shop? Gone. Her reputation? Ruined. The affair? Exposed. Her control? Shattered. This wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about balance. And I finally had mine back. After the store was gone, Lisa's calls turned from desperate to hollow. There were no more pleas for forgiveness. No more promises to change. Just silence, long stretches of it. Occasionally, she'd send a message about our daughter's schedule or some logistical matter related to custody. But that was it. Cold. Functional. The kind of communication you'd expect between strangers, not people who once shared a life. And that was fine by me. I didn't need closure from her. I didn't need apologies anymore. She had said everything the moment she bent over our daughter's crib for another man. Nothing she could say would rewrite that image burned into my memory. But healing? That was a slower burn. After everything was finalized, I tried going back to my old life. Work. Gym. Grocery runs. I tried to pretend like I was okay, like I wasn't carrying the weight of betrayal in every breath. But I wasn't okay. I was angry. Empty. I'd won the war. Yes. But what do you do when the battlefield is quiet, and all that's left are the ashes? I downloaded dating apps not because I was ready, but because I thought I should be. I matched with women, chatted, even went on a few dates. But every time I sat across from someone, I couldn't stop comparing them to the woman I used to love and the monster she became. One-night stands didn't help either. They felt hollow, like trying to fill a canyon with handfuls of dirt. Each morning after, I felt worse than before, like I was betraying myself. I realized I didn't need someone in my bed. I needed peace. So I went looking for it where I used to find it, books. There was a small independent bookstore downtown, tucked between a barber shop and a coffee house. I hadn't been there in years. But one Saturday afternoon, I found myself walking through its creaky wooden door, greeted by the smell of old pages and soft jazz humming from a speaker in the corner. I wandered to the sci-fi section, my comfort zone, and just stood there for a while, letting the silence settle over me like a blanket. It was the first time in months that I wasn't thinking about lawyers, betrayal, or revenge. And that's when I heard her laugh. Not Lisa. Someone else. Soft. Natural. Unforced. I turned to see a woman thumbing through a hardback edition of The Three-Body Problem. She looked up, smiled, and said, "You look like a man who hasn't picked up a book in years." I laughed, really laughed, for the first time in what felt like forever. "I'm trying to find my way back," I said. She patted the book in her hand. "This one's a hell of a place to start." We ended up talking for over an hour. Her name was Claire. She had this easy energy about her. No games, no masks. Just genuine warmth. We sat in the back corner of the shop, trading book recommendations and laughing about plot holes in famous sci-fi movies. I told her about the books I loved in college. She told me about a series that changed her life. And for 2 hours, I forgot everything. No Lisa. No Evan. No betrayal. Just two people connecting over something real. I asked for her number as we left the store. My hands were shaking. I was nervous, more than I had been in years. And when she smiled and handed me her phone, I felt something shift. That night, we texted back and forth like teenagers. It was light, effortless. And when I told her, nervously, that I was recently divorced, she simply replied, "Thanks for being honest. We all carry something. No judgment. No awkward silence. Just grace." Claire wasn't Lisa. She didn't try to control the conversation, didn't try to pry into my past or overshare her own. She just let me exist, and that felt healing. Over the next few weeks, we met for coffee, then lunch, then dinners that stretched late into the night. She never pushed, never rushed, just made space for me to breathe. And I started to. Slowly, I stopped checking Lisa's socials. I stopped wondering how she was spinning the story to her friends, or whether Evan's wife had left him. I stopped caring, because I was building something new, something better. Not to replace what I lost, but to remind myself that I hadn't lost everything. I still had the capacity to trust, to hope, to love again. And this time, I would never ignore the signs. 5 months after I caught my wife cheating, I stood beside Claire in a quiet hospital hallway. Her hand was wrapped around mine, fingers interlaced, grounding me in a moment that should have broken me again, but didn't. Because this time, I wasn't alone. I wasn't blindsided. I was ready. Let me back up. Claire and I had been growing closer. Laughs turned into late-night phone calls. Dinner dates turned into weekends curled up on the couch watching bad sci-fi movies. I found myself looking forward to her texts. I caught myself smiling for no reason. It was slow, cautious, but real. She knew everything. I didn't hide any of it. The betrayal, the baby monitor, the flower shop, even the cold revenge. I laid it all bare, expecting her to flinch, maybe even walk away. But she didn't. She just said, "You've already survived the worst. Now let's build something better." I thought the chaos was behind me, until it wasn't. One Saturday afternoon, Claire and I were leaving the mall parking lot after lunch. We were talking about what movie to see later that night. I remember her laughing, this genuine, carefree sound, and then everything shattered in an instant. The engine roar came first, loud, fast, angry. I turned just in time to see the car barreling toward us. I didn't think. I just acted. I yanked Claire back, but not fast enough. The car clipped her leg, sent her crashing to the pavement. I heard the sickening crack of bone, the scream she tried to hold in. I dropped to my knees beside her, shielding her with my body as the car skidded to a halt. Then it reversed. That's when I realized this wasn't an accident. This was Lisa. She'd found us. She'd followed us. And now she was trying to kill us. As the car lunged forward again, I pulled Claire between two parked vehicles. She cried out in pain with every movement, but I couldn't stop. The car slammed into the parked cars we were hiding behind, setting off alarms and sending people screaming. I looked up, and there she was. Lisa stepped out of the car with the calm of someone heading into a job interview. Her hair was perfectly styled, her blazer immaculate, but her eyes, they were feral. She walked toward us, heels clicking like gunshots against the pavement, face blank, but eyes burning with hatred. If it weren't for the man who tackled her from behind, some retired cop who happened to be nearby, I don't know what would have happened. But she didn't get to finish what she started. The cops came. The ambulance arrived. Claire was rushed to the hospital. Lisa was arrested, screaming that I ruined her life, that I was a coward, that Claire was a homewrecker. The victimhood was so delusional it bordered on theatrical. She looked at me like I was the monster. But I didn't even flinch. I just stood there, covered in Claire's blood, holding her purse and praying she'd be okay. The following weeks were chaos, again. Police reports, lawyers, trauma counselors. The DA reached out. Security footage showed Lisa circling the lot before the attack. They had video of her adjusting her lipstick in the rearview mirror before flooring the gas. Premeditated. Cold. Insane. She was charged with attempted murder, assault with a deadly weapon, and reckless endangerment. The trial took months. She cried in court, claimed she had a mental breakdown, tried to paint herself as the fragile, betrayed woman pushed too far. But the jury saw through it. Guilty. All counts. 12 years. It wasn't enough. It never is. But it was something. And best of all, the judge from our divorce caught wind of the case. That finalized custody agreement, revisited. Lisa lost all visitation rights. No alimony. No rights to anything. She was erased. As for Claire, she healed. Slowly, painfully, but with strength I can't describe. She joked from the hospital bed. "Well, now I can say your ex tried to run me over, and I still stuck around. That woman, she's more than I ever deserved. She didn't just survive the wreckage Lisa left behind. She helped me rebuild from it. We moved into a new place. Fresh walls. No memories of betrayal soaked into the paint. The baby has a room that's hers again, safe, peaceful, untouched by lies. We go to the bookstore often. It's our place now. We leave notes in each other's books like teenagers. And sometimes, when no one's looking, she still tucks her hand in mine and squeezes, just to let me know she's there. We're planning a trip next spring, something quiet, maybe a cabin in the mountains. Just the three of us. Claire, my daughter, and me. a new beginning. And every time I hear the click of a baby monitor at night, I don't feel dread anymore. I feel peace. Because this time, there are no secrets hiding behind the static. If there's one thing this storm taught me, it's that betrayal doesn't just wound the heart. It shakes your faith in everything you once believed was solid. But even in the worst of it, there are lessons. Lessons I think people of any age, especially those of us who've lived long enough to understand how fragile trust can be, should carry with them. First, never ignore your instincts. I didn't suspect anything for the longest time because I wanted to believe in the person I loved. But love without honesty is just denial in a prettier coat. If something feels off, listen, observe, protect your peace. Second, documentation matters. In a world where lies spread faster than truth, having evidence saved me from years of courtroom battles and emotional warfare. Don't be afraid to safeguard yourself, especially when the people closest to you start becoming strangers. And lastly, healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means building something stronger with what's left. Life after betrayal is possible. Joy after heartbreak is real. And if you're lucky, like I was, you'll meet someone who reminds you that love doesn't have to be painful to be true. You're never too old to start again.